Hi, Willie. I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, good. You?
Good. Yeah, fine. Thank you.
That's all right.
So let's start then by looking back at last week. Having reviewed that game, what do you take from it?
Look, you take a lot of lessons from it. It was a game. Obviously, we knew in terms of what Lee were going to bring. We knew, what their side would bring, but we probably lacked a little bit of energy. We lacked a little bit, in key moments. We lost those key moments. There was a few in the game, just some fundamental errors. But not taking anything away from Lee. They deserve the win on the day. But as I said, we'll take a lot of learnings from that game.
You talked about handling chaos as well. How much have you looked at that this week?
Yeah, look, we've handled it well throughout the season. So, I mean, there's going to be periods throughout the year. You handle it better than other times. It's something that we pride ourselves in as staff and players. Look, it wasn't ideal moving people around. Sort of having a plan with some halves that you're going to go in with, and then you have to move others around off the back of that, and then we had to move it twice because Mickey Mack was going to play hooker, and then Jez was going to be in the halves, but we just need to be mindful as well. With if Mickey Mack plays, he's only just come back from injury, so we had to be mindful of injury and risk of injury for him as well, and how he was feeling. So then we had to move our combinations around again. So not ideal, but it is what it is. So, we still handled it okay. We put ourselves in a position to be in the game for a period there, but as I said, we weren't good enough on the day.
How do you replicate situations like that in training to prepare for something like that? Is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, you just do scenario-based training. You put them in situations where you do have to take someone out, and you move players around. Exactly the situation that we're in. We've practiced and worked on it. And look, you're going to get. It's not going to be the same. It's not you take any key playmaker out. So initially we take Mikey out. You take Bevan French out of Wigan. They've looked different, and you don't want to. But you're not going to have the same look. Ideally, you want the same look, and then you put other players in. Then you lose that player, which we did. We put someone else in, and then we had to move someone, another half. So it's a position that do you train for it? 4 changes in the halves, probably not. But you certainly you train for a few different options or a few different scenarios.
There's obviously been a lot of outside noise about the fact that was your second consecutive defeat, but internally, where are you with that?
Look, I think people, and internally and in and around the club probably aren't used to losing, which can be a good thing, but it also can cause people to get a little bit nervous or anxious, or respond in ways where, like as I said, it hasn't been the norm for us. Look, the only way to to turn things around is you simplify what you do, and you go back to the areas that you're good at, and you do those well. When you look at the game on the weekend, there were some areas in our game that we do pride ourselves in that we didn't aim up, and the reality is you need to do that consistently every week. Now, can there be reasons and excuses for it? Yeah, I think there can be with what they've gone through, but we've got another game before the players get a well-earned break, and the staff as well. So, we need to make sure that we're on this week.
With that in mind, the fact that you've not had a break, albeit you've got one coming up, going forward, would you maybe consider just changing the odd bit of personnel here and there? Because some of your players have played a lot of minutes, haven't they, this season? Yeah,
I have done that. There's only Elliot Minchella that we hadn't. I think everyone else we have. Look, we've rotated without saying every time we do that. But we've rotated players. As I said, there was a period there that I was going to look to give Elliot a rest. We'll give him a spell because he needs one at some stage. But we have done that with the players. There's probably 2 players, 3 players there out of the group that have played a little bit longer than others. But we've had to do it smart, which we have, and do it where we think it won't affect the team too much, because you can do the other way where you rest players and then you don't get a result, then it's the worst decision of all time. So, we felt we've handled that reasonably well. it's just a period now that we need to, obviously manage, and we've got a week off next week, and that they'll reset again. But we're not looking at the reset yet. We're looking what we just did at training and what we do tomorrow, leading into heading over to France.
Are you happy with the depth that you've got in your squad to see you through to the end of the year?
Yeah, but we're in a good spot. Look, it's always challenged. Your squad's always challenged throughout the year. So then, do you look at bringing some players in? We're very happy with the squad that we have, and we've got some players back. Obviously, Oliver Gildart's not to the back end of the year. So look, we're in a decent spot.
So just finally, sort of on that basis, just put into context then where you feel you are in the season so far.
Sorry, when you say where we are?
In terms of you coming off the back of two defeats, are you still happy though with where you are and the progress that you're making this year? Yeah,
absolutely we are. Like, look at our season. Look what we've done, what we've achieved. If we can go out and get a result this week, and that's the outcome. But if we do that, then we're sitting first, and we've won a Challenge Cup going into a week off. Regardless, we don't go out any game to lose. But you're gonna, as I said the other day, the peaks and valleys of a season. You're going to be going through the ups, and you got to go through the downs of a season. I've been in rugby league long enough to know now you don't have the perfect season. And look, people expect now us to go out and win every game. Do we want to win every game? Of course, we've got that expectation of ourselves to go out and win every game. But the reality is it's not always going to happen because you've got a strong competition. Like, Leeds are a very good team. Leeds are a very good team. At the start of the year, I said that, and I'll say that, any team can beat anyone on their day. So, it's how you handle it. It's how you handle a bit of setback, and it's a good test of character for people in and around the club, and players, staff, of being able to handle a little bit of adversity. We've lost 2 games. It's not the end of the world.
Lovely. So let's look at your team. Let's start off with people that are missing. Firstly, Jez Litten, how is he? Was it just a straightforward HIA, failed, nothing else to that?
Yeah, he failed. He got busted and failed his HIA.
So other than the fact he would be suspended this week anyway, he'd be back in contention for your next match?
Yeah, that's right.
So where does that leave you with your hooking position? As you've mentioned, Michael McAlorum just coming back from injury, not played a huge amount of minutes yet. How much will you expect from him this weekend? Yeah, well, he's built his game now, so we'll increase his minutes depending on the game. Obviously, we've got Bill Leyland, that it comes into contention now. So, we're still in a decent position in terms of our hook options. And how big a difference will it be for you to get Mikey Lewis back? Yeah, look, I think, it was evident, obviously, when Mikey went off, our attack sort of went the other way. I thought we created a lot of opportunities against Leeds, and when he was on the field, we just didn't execute our 2v1s. We've had Mikey, not play this year a couple of times, and we've handled it well, but we didn't attack the last 2 weeks. We certainly missed his spark. We missed his energy. Look, you look at Wigan with Bevan French, you had him in the team, totally different attacking team and threat. We're similar, we're similar in terms of Mikey, that he gives us that energy, gives us that X factor, that individual brilliance that you can't teach. It's just, there's a few players in the competition, your Mikeys, your Bevan French, your Jai Fields, Matt Duffy's, players like that they can just, make something out of nothing, your George Williams. We've got Mikey, that's ours. So we know that and value what he brings, and he'll do that again this weekend. How's Danny Richardson? No, not good. So he's going to need an operation there. It was. Just want to get a bit of clarification around the tackle. That obviously, he's come down on his legs. I think is that a hanger tackle? For me, it looked very likely of one because the player's injured his ankle, and that's what we're trying to take away. So I just want to get a bit of clarification around what the reason is there. But for me, we've lost a player for 10 to 12 weeks. It's tough for Danny, isn't it? I suppose he's worked behind the scenes, I guess, to try and get a place in the team. He's been out on loan trying to keep his fitness up, and a bit unfortunate to potentially end his season. Yeah, it is. Not good at all for him. Look, in any side, and especially our side, there's competition for spots, and Danny understands. That Mikey and Tyrone have been our first choice halfbacks, but
he's worked hard to make sure that he's been ready to go whenever he's played, and he did that in the weekend. Look, we could have moved, we could have put Arthur there, we could have put Jez there, we could have put Pet there, but we chose Danny because of, we believed that he was the right person on the weekend, and he had a good week of training. It was just unfortunate, obviously, that injury, and he wanted to battle on, and it's brave of him because he did have some fractures in there. So it's a credit that he didn't want to battle on, but we had to get him off.
And just while we're talking about injuries, just bring us up to date with Oliver Gildout. How is he going?
Yeah, he's on track. So we're looking at the Wakefield game, so he's still a while off, but his rehab's going well. He's in good spirits. He's bouncing around, which is good. When he bounces around, we know that he's happy. So yeah, he's in a decent spot.
So the opposition then this week, Catalans. Just describe the week you have when you've got to travel to France.
We're leaving a couple of days earlier, so which will be on the players' day off. So it's a little bit different. Naturally, they have a day away from the club and time on their own or with their families. So we travel a couple of days earlier, but I think it's the right time. I think it's a really good time for us to connect and get away together off the back of 2 defeats. I always think that's when you are going through a couple of losses, that the best way to sort of turn that is by connecting more, spending more time with each other and enjoying each other's company, having a laugh, not being as uptight. So that's what that travel day will be. It'll be players and being able to enjoy each other's company and staff, and when we get over there, connect and then obviously get ready by doing our captain's run there and do the job on Saturday.
How important then is it at this time of year that team bonding still happens? I guess it's something you think of at the start of the season, but midway through, is it still important? For me,
it's important every day. I think it needs to be driven by players now more so than staff. We've got a very close group. They're all tight. You don't have the success that we've had this year, and what we're having. If you're not a tight group, you look at all the best teams in the competition. They're all good mates, and what happens then is when you're close with someone and you care about someone and you want to do that extra for them on the field, and that's what the best teams do. So for me, connection's a massive part of how we approach our program and how we approach our day, and genuinely caring for someone shouldn't be too hard, and genuinely having a good relationship with someone, a teammate or a staff member. As I said, it shouldn't be too difficult.
So what are you looking for in the performance this week at Catalans?
Look, I'm looking for a high energy performance. I'm looking for a whole KR performance, a team that will scrap and fight and do whatever it takes to perform well, and obviously the outcome to get a win. But yeah, I want to see a real high energy performance, and as I said, a team that comes off the field on Saturday know that they've given everything, and they've earned their 5 days away from the club, because we've spoken around. That's next week. We're not thinking about that. So that's what I want. I want the players to come off knowing that they couldn't give any more, and then they can relax and spend time with family and reset, because it's important that they do that.
And Catalan, I guess they've been up and down a bit this year. You've had 2 good wins against them, both in England. Are they a different prospect, you feel, on the home ground? Yeah,
they certainly are. Look, we haven't won over there since my time here, so it's something they want to change. But look, they're a difficult team. I know last time, obviously, we had a really good win against them, but they're a different team now. They played well against Warrington, especially that back end last week. So, they want to impress the coach. Obviously looking at new. They're going in a different direction. Well, they've gone in a different direction with their coach, and he's doing a good job. It's difficult to come in. Obviously, Steve Mack did a great job for many years with the club. So yeah, change of coach can spike a team, and I think they're starting to be able to understand new systems and stuff like that now, where probably initially there might have been a bit of change. And finally, I mentioned to you about would you recruit before the end of the season. Rumours fly around at this time of year about recruitment for next year. How are you managing that? How are you balancing the active looking after this year, but maybe looking ahead as well? Yeah, we're ongoing with that. I mean, recruitment, as much as we say we don't have a great deal left for next year, you're always looking. Paul Aiken's always talking to managers and vice versa. So that's ongoing. Things change in rugby league. So, you never say never, but at this stage we're we can't announce that we're bringing anyone in, in the short term or at this stage. But things change in rugby league, so that may change.
And just one thing to mention off the back of that, obviously you've been connected with Jack Charles from Hull FC, a player that you've got your eye on, a player that you like?
Oh, I certainly admire him. There's nothing to talk about at the moment or give any details, but he's certainly a good young half. He lives in the area and he's an exciting young half. As I said before, I do think he's an exciting player.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Morning, Willie. How are you doing?
James, good mate. You?
Yeah, good. Thank you. As Sharon mentioned, there's been a lot of outside noise after 2 defeats. Is this the kind of moment where you can create a bit of a siege mentality as a group because people are almost queuing up to write you off, especially on social media?
Yeah, you're going to get that, mate. I understand how rugby league works. Look, 3 weeks ago, no one could beat us in some people's eyes, and other people say no, they're not as good as what people think they are. You're going to have opinions, and that's what makes rugby league fun. That's what it's people have got their opinions and they're entitled to it. But look, we're not too fussed around that because I understand, as I said, some people that would have said 3 weeks ago we can win the comp, they're probably not saying now they can't win the comp. But we go on a run again, then their opinion might change again. So I think what matters is and I say this respectfully, is inside the four walls of how we're feeling and how we respond to last week. The game against Leeds was sort of some key moments in that game, but we weren't far off. We weren't too far. I mean, the score indicated that. On the weekend, we were off. There was moments in the game again where I thought, okay, we're getting back in here and we didn't complete a set, or Tyrone makes a good tackle on the fullback and then they move the ball and they score full length of the field try. We still had 27 minutes to go, whatever it was, but I think we were, a long way off on the weekend. But again, the peaks and valleys of a season, you can have that during the season. Every team's had it. We're just having a bit of a spell now. So everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's just a matter of how we react and what our actions are. That's the most important.
Yeah, and like you say, you get to win in Perpignan as a group. I think OKR last won there in 2019. How much of a boost would it be to break that run at a time like this? Yeah,
I think it's a good time to change that. There's no doubt. That's probably one of, we've ticked off a lot along the way, and this is another one that we like to tick off. To have back-to-back losses and go there and win would certainly be, a great achievement. We talk about the little wins and celebrating those little wins. It'd be, a good one for us because, we haven't done that. But that's the outcome. We need to make sure that we go out and perform and be better than what we were last week.
Yeah, and you obviously still top with 9 rounds to go. Do you still have full confidence that this group has what it takes to finish the job?
When you say finish the job, you're saying like league leaders, you're saying top four?
Field,
yeah, look, I think when you, like last week, when you're playing, the way we played last week, I can't be looking too far ahead. Because if we perform like that over the next period, we're not going to be league leaders. There's no way. You don't deserve to be. You deserve, in this game, you get what you deserve. We deserve to be, where we're sitting at the moment. We deserved what we got last week. So for me, I just want to narrow it down to this week because we're going to have a break and a time to reset, and then players will come back with more energy. But it's important that, as I said, we play with energy this week and we find a way to put in a performance that we're proud of. We're going to have a lot of fans travelling over there. We haven't won before, so people spend a lot of money and they save up. This, to some people, this is their only holiday for the year to come and watch their team play. So the most important thing for us is this week and put in a performance that we can make our fans proud of. So yeah, I know I've gone round there, but my point is that I don't want to be looking too far ahead.
No, good stuff. Thank you very much, Willie. All the
Cheers,
best.
James. Thanks, mate. Thank you.
Hi, Willie. Hope you're well. Ben here.
Hey, Ben. How are you, mate?
Good, thank you, mate. Just want to confirm, first of all, please, is Rhyse Martin back this week? Will he play?
He'll be in contention, mate. So, yeah, we'll name our side later on in the week, but he's certainly in contention.
Will he feel better for having had that sort of game off? I know he's had a long time out, but it's a lot to come back and constantly play week in, week out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult last week. As a coach, I look at the team and what they've done to date, and a lot of the players in that team have done the job. Won the Challenge Cup and won a lot of Super League games. So it's important to reward that as well. When you've got some tough decisions to make. So Reese knew what I think he needs to work on, and also having that week off to get some fitness into him. A little bit more running into him because he came back. He hadn't done a great deal. Like he ran, but it was a little bit. I think probably another week would have been ideal for him, just to get some more loads into his legs. But he's in a better spot now. He's going to come back. When he comes back, he'll be hungry, and there's no doubt he'll add to us.
Yeah, obviously yesterday we saw the news of Jez's suspension. Now obviously he's going to miss this week anyway with the HIA. But I think after the game on Saturday, you were talking about being sort of unhappy with something that a league player had done. Were you surprised with the verdict of the match review panel?
Look, they've made the decision. I look at Jez. I saw Jez after the game. I saw what his face looked like. I got feedback from Jez, and then I watched it myself. I won't go too much into it. They've made their decision, but I wasn't happy.
No problem. And just lastly from me then, I think you alluded to it there about the sort of Catalans curse, if you will, since you've been at the club. I think it spans to 2019. What is it that's undone you over there? Because there's not many venues that, since you've been KR's head coach, that you've not been successful at.
Look, to answer your question, it shouldn't be any different. It shouldn't be, but it has been for whatever reason. They're a tough team to play over there. They're a tough team in general. You can make up excuses, but at the end of the day, they're excuses, or have reasons, but they're excuses for me. So there's no particular reason. We just need to go and do a job this week and change that, because we spoke last year or the year before. We never won over the other side. Manchester way, there was a lot. Initially it was Wakefield, then it was Manchester, and then we couldn't beat a top 4 team. So there's always something. This is, next one to tick off, and hopefully we can do that this week. But look, if I come up with things, they're just excuses. Like it shouldn't matter where you play. You should have a consistent performance.
Cheers, Willie. Good luck this weekend.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, Ben.
Hi, Willie. All right.
Hey, Sam. Good, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I just the Academy Origin squads have just been named, and you've got Frankie Daylove's been named for Yorkshire. I think one of the criticisms of the club is that Academy prospects don't come through. He's obviously getting his chance in the Academy in the Origins thing. What can you tell us about him, and are there any plans for kids to come through next year and as part of your recruitment side of things?
Yeah, so Frankie's been with us, training with us. So he comes in, he's been training with us. He's a back rower. He's good on his feet. He's a strong kid, runs a good line, works hard, and yeah, he's a really quality person. That's what I like about him. We always say when academy players are coming through that you need to pick players or bring players through that you genuinely believe are going to be first team players. So, we'll have a look and work out the back end of the year who comes up, and what we bring up. But we're certainly bringing players in. We bring players to training and reward them that way. And Frankie's been one of those. So he's been with us the last few weeks. It's a great reward for him. He's worked hard. Jason Netherton, head of our academy, is a big fan of his. And yeah, as I say, it's a reward for everything that he's done and the staff have done down there. And he's, as I say, we're looking forward to seeing his development.